Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Louise Minchin and Dan Walker.
Our headlines for you at 6 o'clock. Boris Johnson's plan to fix the catastrophic cost of social care in England, but there's mounting anger from his MPs over how to pay for it.
To have a purpose-built centre in my name, I was totally blown away. To bring the family to a new building with wheelchair access and to have a place where the kids want to come and feel at ease. It affects the whole family.
A vision of hope and optimism. We'll catch up with Rob Burrow's family as they back a campaign to build a specialist MND centre.
The fairy tale continues for 18-year-old Emma Raducanu. She's into her first major quarter-final after easing past home favourite Shelby Rogers at the US Open.
Are too many cookies making us sick? Good morning. There could be changes to those website pop-ups which gather data. As critics say, we accept cookies without even thinking, but it'll take a global effort. I'll have a look.
Good morning. It was the warmest day across the UK yesterday since the 22nd of July. Could be even warmer today. I've come to Waterperry Gardens in Oxfordshire to enjoy the fine morning and bring you the latest forecast here on Breakfast.
Oh, very good morning. It's Tuesday the 7th of September. Our main story, the Prime Minister will set out his plan for social care in England today, saying it will fix a broken system in which people face catastrophic costs.
He's expected to announce a rise in national insurance of about 1.25%, despite criticism from Conservative MPs and peers, as well as from Labour, who say the increase is unfair to working families. Here's our political correspondent, Ian Watson.
It has plagued previous governments. Plans for reforming social care in England have often come unstuck. But on the very day in 2019 that he became Prime Minister, Boris Johnson made this bold pledge.
We will fix the crisis in social care once and for all with a clear plan we have prepared.
6 months later, during the election campaign, he made another bold pledge.
We can do all these things without raising our income tax, VAT or national insurance contributions. That's our guarantee.
Now it seems he can't keep both promises, so he's on the brink of breaking the pledge not to increase national insurance rates. The Labour leader, Keir Starmer, says this would be unfair, as it would hit working people hard, including low earners and young people. But perhaps more worryingly for the Prime Minister, many of his own Conservative MPs seem to agree.
I don't want to see national insurance raised for people of all ages. I think many youngsters have paid enough as a result of this pandemic. I think if we want people to be able to retain their homes, then those people should bear the bulk of the cost, perhaps by buying their own insurance policy to insure themselves against a catastrophe of potentially losing all their money on care.
Initially, the extra cash raised isn't expected to be earmarked for social care, but to help clear the backlog in the NHS in England, which has been pummeled by the pandemic, and to increase hospital capacity. So there are concerns that social care could still be left as a poor relation.
We are really hoping that there will be something, not only for the long-term sustainable future for social care, but we do need something immediately now, because most care providers are at breaking point at this moment in time.
And the problem of paying for care predates a pandemic. Boris Johnson says he won't duck tough decisions and he will end the catastrophic costs of care. So ultimately, those costs will be capped. But even some of his own MPs wonder if he'll be able completely to prevent some people having to sell their own homes to pay for a care home. Ian Watson, BBC News.
Well, let's speak to our chief political correspondent, Adam Fleming, who's always up nice and early. Adam, good morning to you. The Cabinet meeting at number 10 today, for the first time since last March, aren't they, to talk these things through. I wonder what the atmosphere is going to be like in there this morning.
Morning to you. Yeah, it's going to be a slightly unusual cabinet meeting for a number of reasons. Number one, it's the first time they're going to be all squished round that slightly too small table in Downing Street since the start of the pandemic last year. Second of all, we know that there are some cabinet ministers who are quite strongly opposed to the idea of increasing national insurance to pay for social care and extra funding for the NHS. And third of all, there are quite a lot of rumours doing the rounds that there might be a reshuffle of the Prime Minister's top team in the next couple of days. So while this might be the first time they're seeing each other for ages, it may also be the last. But also we're moving into a different phase about the debate about social care now, because for the last few days, the pitch has basically been occupied by the critics and the opponents, people saying national insurance would be a tax on the young, and also that it's a tax on employers because employers also have to pay national insurance too. What we're seeing now, though, is the Prime Minister and ministers making the case for this change. There's been a statement from Downing Street just spelling out the size of the backlog in the NHS from COVID and the fact that something fundamental has got to be done about social care. And then the Prime Minister will go to the House of Commons to speak to MPs, and that is when we'll get all the details. What will the cap on lifetime care costs for an individual be? What will be the new level of the means test below which people will get subsidised care from the state? What will the mechanism be where the extra money that's raised stops going to the NHS after a few years and then starts going into social care? That's something people are interested in. And also, what will just be the actual political mechanism for putting this all in place? Because that will be where we can get some clues about where opponents might be able to try and derail it.
OK, Adam, lots to think about. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you later on.
Just to let you know, later this morning we'll be speaking to the Vaccines Minister Nadhim Zahawi and get reaction from the health and social care sectors as well.
Elsewhere this morning, a baby and several young children were among hundreds of migrants brought ashore on Monday after trying to cross the English Channel.
A steady stream of crossings is believed to have taken place yesterday due to the calm waters and good weather conditions. Simon Jones is in Dover for us now with the very latest. A morning to you. It's a beautiful day there. What more can you tell us?
Well, the Home Office have so far refused to say exactly how many people made the crossing yesterday, but we do know it was several hundred, possibly a record for a single day. That's yet to be confirmed, but the record currently stands at 828 people who crossed on one day last month. Now, at times yesterday, the border force seemed overwhelmed. They had to call in the lifeboat to help pick up boats at sea. One boat was brought back to Dungeness with a large group of people brought to shore. Here in Dover, where migrants are brought for processing, someone who works down at the port told me it was disorganised chaos. Why so many people yesterday? Well, I think it's largely down to the weather. Like today, it was very warm, it was incredibly calm in the Channel, and for the past couple of weeks it's actually been pretty breezy out in the Channel, so the opportunities for crossing were quite rare. We saw very few numbers over the past 14 days, so people had been waiting over in northern France in their hundreds for the right weather, and that came yesterday, smugglers helping put them on board boats. Now, Britain recently pledged an extra £54 million to the French authorities to up the number of patrols on beaches in northern France, to increase aerial surveillance. So I think it is going to be a concern that yesterday the French in the Channel only managed to stop 2 boats carrying 41 people. The French saying, though, they will only intervene if the boats get into difficulty.
Simon Jones in Dover, thank you very much. Thank you.
A public inquiry into controversial plans for the UK's first deep coal mine for 30 years will begin later today. The site near Whitehaven, which is on the Cumbrian coast, was originally approved by the Communities Secretary, Robert Jenrick, but that decision is now being reviewed. Supporters say the mine will create hundreds of jobs, but critics are arguing opening the mine will harm the government's commitment to cutting carbon emissions.
Scotland's First Minister will set out her government's plan for the coming year later on today.
Nicola Sturgeon's statement at Holyrood is likely to focus on pandemic recovery, but she's also made clear her determination to pursue another independence referendum in the near future. Let's speak now to our political correspondent, David Wallace Lockhart. David, good morning to you. So what do you think we can expect later on today?
Well, Nicola Sturgeon recently asked the Scottish Greens to join her government, so I think that gives us an idea of the direction she wants to take. She's going to talk about economic recovery, specifically a net zero recovery, so one that's more environmentally friendly. But there'll be much more to today's proceedings than that. Possibly over 12 bills are going to be announced, including one to introduce wraparound childcare for those on lower incomes, so free childcare before school, after school and over the holidays. The SNP in the recent election in Scotland also talked about creating a national care service as a priority, so we may hear about that, and also plans to make it easier for people in Scotland to change their legally recognised gender. We're also expecting a law to pardon striking minors convicted in the 1980s. For all the detail on this, we're going to have to wait till Nicola Sturgeon speaks in Holyrood this afternoon. The Scottish Conservatives are saying there must be a laser focus on a jobs recovery plan, and they're warning against any announcements on, as they see it, breaking up the country. So that is warnings against a second independence referendum. Now, Nicola Sturgeon paused planning on independence when the pandemic hit. Probably too early for concrete plans on that at the moment. Scotland's still seeing very high COVID cases at the moment, but possible we will hear her plans to take that forward, her party's ultimate aim of independence in the years ahead.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.